everyone, and welcome to another Civil Air Patrol video. Today we have the fabulous Cadet Major, well, he goes by Bradley. Yes?
Hello. Yep.
So, he and I we met before. I was an instructor for RCLS, and he attended RCLS when he's on the opposite side of the country. Welcome to the series.
Thank you.
So you liked RCLS?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It was a little different than what I expected going into the virtual format instead of doing one in person, but I definitely learned a lot of it, and it was very enjoyable. They had some really good instructors and some really great topics that they covered, and I learned a lot and definitely take a lot of that back to my squadron.
Oh, great. Were there any lessons in particular that you found to be more useful that you plan to kind of implement or use more actively after, like, having attended?
I think the one that really stuck out as being useful was the project management assignment, because I had done some work before with like creating operations plans with how the activity is actually going to run, but taking apart the project management side of all of the steps before the activity actually happens, preparing how you're going to get your staff done, and all the tasks that go into the activity before students actually show up and your staff show up on site. That's something that I hadn't really had a lot of experience with before, and it really is useful and something that I'm going to plan on using afterwards for the squadron planning activities and that sort of thing. Just gives you a broader perspective of what all goes into an activity, gives you a more better appreciation of the senior members and what all they have to do to make an activity actually happen, what goes on beyond the scenes, or behind the scenes, I should say. So yeah, I think that one really stuck out as being useful. It was the first time I'd used the memorandum format too, so got an extra bonus there. I actually had to prepare a squadron logo for it.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a squadron patch and we never had like a digitized logo of it, so I had to take that and recreate it and be able to use that in the memorandum to be able to submit it to. So that was kind of interesting.
Wow.
But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that assignment, and that was the one that stuck out to me.
Oh, very nice. So you have had experience with in-person activities, like cap-wise, but now you've had the opportunity to do the virtual RCLS. Would you say if it was offered in person, you would have rather have done it in person? Or do you think that the virtual format was really of benefit and was worth taking online versus that in person?
I would say that it was definitely worth taking it online, especially since I'm from Washington Wing in the Pacific region, and this RCLS was hosted by the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic regions. So it's not like I would be able to just fly out in the middle of the summer and be able to do that unless it's something very special like an NCSA or Cadet Officer School or something that you need to get ECR credit. But being able to do it virtually, it was really nice. I didn't have to go travel anywhere, and they provided a lot of the instruction. It was very useful. The classes were very similar. You're able to get a lot of good instruction. We had the small groups and seminars, so you were able to work with smaller groups of people. It's definitely not the same as doing it in person, especially for like the capstone project, being able to collaborate with others. You don't quite get the same amount of interaction with people. But I think that the way that they offered it virtually for the RCLS, I think that was really good. And I would definitely do it again if that opportunity was presented. But yeah, definitely in person, I would say I probably would prefer it. But for what was offered, I think the online RCLS is very good and definitely something worth continuing and keep doing.
I definitely agree. And some cadets had mentioned to me that it was a lot easier to be able to dedicate whenever they want during the day to do it over 4 weeks. And then they would attend like those live lectures and do the self-paced, like online pre-recorded stuff at their own time. So then they would be able to do other activities at home. Like they'd still be able to attend the, well, virtual, but still squadron meetings in addition to attending other things outside of just RCLS, which if you were attending in person, that would just be 1 week committed and you got to clear your schedule just to attend it. So
Yeah, that was really nice. They made as much accommodations as possible. There were still those live sessions, but even if you missed those, they posted the full video afterwards, and you had go through, watch that, do some of the discussion questions or whatever else to complete an alternative assignment. But that was really good. They were very accommodating. And I know a lot of the other feedback I had received from people who had gone to COS or RCLS was that they were really busy during the week, staying up till 3 in the morning, writing papers, trying to get all of those different things done. And so being able to do it over a month, being able to dedicate that time to it, I think was really beneficial and something that you wouldn't be able to get in person. And the online platform really stuck out as doing that very well.
Definitely. RCLS has a lot of writing associated with it, and so does COS. But I don't know if they would really do COS virtually. I think they would do RCLS, but not COS, because COS is that NCSA where it's like becoming a cadet officer, and I think they want like a certain in-person activity for that. So I'm not sure if they would offer COS, but definitely RCLS. I think you had mentioned earlier that they might be considering doing that, and I definitely think that they should continue pursuing virtual opportunities so that people across the country can participate. Kind of like the volunteer university stuff with the senior members, where anyone in the country can get the same quality training from instructors anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's definitely really good. One of the other virtual activities that I've been able to do is the Afa Cyber Camps. One thing that they offered them all across the wing, or all across the nation actually, and Washington Wing was able to put one together, and we had both the standard and advanced cyber camp. So it was a week of different instruction, and we actually had cadet and senior member instructors from the wing being able to provide instruction for cadets all across the country. We actually opened it up to the Canadian Air Cadets too, but unfortunately they were unable to get authorization in time. But we had some really good cyber instruction that we were able to give, and it was by cadet and senior instructors who knew what they were doing, who loved the cyber material, and we were able to get some really good cadet participation and just offer some really cool training virtually. It was free for anyone who wanted to attend too, so that's always really nice and something you wouldn't be able to get in person because of meals and lodging and all that sort of thing. Just being able to do it virtually, especially with like cyber stuff, that's something that's a lot easier to do in person or virtually instead of in person, since you don't have to. It is easier in person, as with all things, but there's a lot of virtual aspects with that you can do training and running different cyber things. So it's really cool, and definitely glad I was able to help participate in that one too.
So for that one, were you an instructor or were you a student?
So I was a cadet instructor. I was actually assigned in charge of all the other cadet instructors, making sure that they had all their classes prepared in time.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So does that mean that you like help provide feedback and reach out to all of the cadets in the wing to get instructors to begin with, and then send information out to participants afterwards? Or how did your role work in that situation?
Pretty much. So my actual title at the wing is Cadet Assistant Cyber Patriot Coordinator, and with that, I work with a senior member, and we helped get all of the cadets. We reached out to different people that we knew were interested in cyber and who had participated in Cyber Patriot before, and who had a solid foundation, who would be interested in teaching. And we got all of those people together. We held some meetings, talked about what we wanted to cover. We had to prepare all of our classes ahead of time, record them, and so that way during the camp, we would be able to play recordings of classes instead of doing it live. So that way we'd also be able to upload it afterwards if people wanted to go back, view the different materials, that sort of thing. We had good success with that, so we had to help organize all of that stuff. During the camp, we did a lot of troubleshooting for people whose computer didn't work, couldn't figure out certain things. So there was a lot going on before and during the week as well. And then afterwards, providing feedback, getting feedback from the students and the other instructors, seeing how we can improve to possibly do it again in the future.
Very nice. What is one thing that people should know about Washington Wing?
Well, our wing, one thing that we offer that's very special in our wing that I haven't seen in too many other wings is what's called the WAWG All Mission Academy. And it's a once-a-month activity. And it's where cadets and senior members from all across the country come together, and they provide different training in 4 different areas. So each month there's 4 different classes. One theme is aerospace education. So they have like drone certifications, they have like space, they've done rocketry programs, they've done the advanced rocketry program, getting hours towards the cadet STEM badge and the rocketry badge, different aerospace programs like that. They have emergency services, working towards ground team member, UDF, MRO, MSA, different ground team trainings as far as that goes. They have cadet programs training, so they have airman schools and NCO schools, senior NCO, cadet officer seminars, also things for like preparing a team for cadet competition, everything you need to know about that. And they also have geared towards senior members the professional development courses for different level advancements like CLC, TLS, just all those different things for senior members too, so that they get different the things that they need to be able to promote. So it's really cool where we have about 50 cadets and 25 senior members from all across the state come together. We have meals together. We do formation every morning. We do PT, and just being able to know other people from across the state, get together, have some really good instruction provided in those different areas. All of it's instructed by cadets and senior members, and sometimes we also have guest instructors. We provide O-rides and different opportunities like that too. It's a really great opportunity for people to come together to get to know each other a little bit more, get some quality instruction, and really just have a great time over a weekend. It runs Friday to Sunday, so and it's once a month too.
So how have you been involved with the All Missions Academy?
I first went in May of 2019, and I took a class on ES, and it was a really great opportunity, and I decided I want to come back. And there was a staff training announced for June weekend, and so I decided to go and see what's going on and maybe apply for cadet staff. And it was only me and 3 other people who showed up, and they offered me the position of cadet commander, which I was 14 at the time, and not really expecting that, but I decided, you know what, let's go for it, see what I'll be able to do and how I'll be able to get involved in the program. So I was in charge of all of the cadets for the different monthly trainings. I had a cadet staff I had to work with. It was a really great learning experience. I made quite a few mistakes, but mistakes are always an opportunity to learn and be a better leader, right? So it was definitely I was more involved than I thought I would be, but I ended up staying as cadet commander for the entire term, which runs from August through June. And then since COVID shut down all of our in-person trainings, they've kept me on as cadet commander to be able to work possibly doing WAMIT in the virtual setting. And also once we're able to start back up, being able to get that training done once we are able to be in person again.
Nice. So does that mean you haven't done anything virtually for the All Missions Academy, or you've done like a few trainings here and there for them?
For the All Mission Academy, I haven't done any virtual training yet. We've been working with some different people trying to generate ideas, what we're able to do virtually. It's hard. We have senior members who aren't as well versed within the virtual platform, so it's a little bit more difficult being able to organize those things. But we're definitely working on that, and hopefully we're able to provide some virtual training soon, or when we are able to go back in person, we're able to get that up and going as well.
Well, I wish you the best of luck getting it back started. I know with my wing, we've done some like parts of the mission. Like we might have a SARX where we do search and rescue training, and then we might do an NCOA, but we've never done something where it's like everything offered all at once. So that's a really fantastic opportunity. But isn't Washington like huge state, and you'd have to drive really far if you wanted to go to training?
Yeah, actually, Washington's pretty big. It's actually split into 2 different areas. Most people, when they think of Washington, they think of like the Seattle area where it's all super mountainy and there's all these pine trees and it's raining all the time. And then there's actually a mountain range that divides between east and west. And then on the east side of the state, it's all desert. So it's pretty big, but actually the location is pretty central in Washington. So for me, living on the corner of the state, it's only about 2.5 hours, and I think most it's like 4-hour drive away for people living on the west side. So it's really not that bad for people who want to come all over the state. We've also had some people from Idaho, and I believe a couple people from Oregon come in and join us as well for that. Yeah.
Nice. So I have a quick unrelated question. Has anyone in Civil Air Patrol been asked to help with the support for the wildfires that are going on the West Coast so far?
I do not know about that one, actually. Okay. My squadron hasn't been called in, and I haven't heard anything from the wing as far as that goes yet. I don't know what all cadets would be able to do. They might have just providing support materials for like firefighters and that sort of thing. I haven't heard of anything yet, no.
Okay, interesting. because like when we would do disaster relief for like the hurricanes that happened in Puerto Rico and like Gulf of Mexico area, we would send down mission pilots to take pictures of the damage. But since the wildfires are still going on right now, I don't know if they would really send cap aircraft willingly into the flames, because that would probably be a huge liability issue. But we also had like on the ground points of distribution centers, so we would be able to give people medications and like food, water, supplies as needed, because they couldn't go to their houses. So maybe that's something that would be supported by Civil Air Patrol on the West Coast, like for those who have to leave their homes for the wildfires happening.
Yeah, that's possible. I know the air quality is really, really bad for a lot of areas around here, and they want people to not be outside as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that would be a concern with that, but we are a volunteer organization. It's definitely possible. You probably wouldn't be able to get aircraft to take off just because the smoke is so bad around here. Like the sky is completely red. There are some areas where you can't see the sun, so it's pretty bad. But if we might be dealing more with the aftermath once all the fires die down a little bit more. Helping to get those people back to their homes, or if their homes are destroyed, getting some materials to them and being able to help them out. But I haven't heard of anything yet.
Okay. Well, you'll have to keep us posted then, because if there's anything we, the CAP community, can do across the country, we'll help out from afar, or at least try.
Absolutely.
I don't know what we could do. Maybe like put together funds or something for sending donations over. We'll have to think about this. Maybe offline we could think about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's scary. Like so you're on the far side of the coastline. So you're not close to the wildfires, but the sky is still red?
Yeah. So I'm inland quite a ways, and there's actually a fire about an hour away from where I am.
Oh no.
And there's a lot of fires further south, and we have really strong winds where I live, so all of it's just blowing up into Washington, Oregon, Idaho, all that area. And yeah, the sky is brownish where I currently live, and the sun is red, just a big circle in the sky. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, please stay safe, stay inside, and continue to take care of yourself and your family. Because that is scary.
Yeah, it kind of is. I know a few people in Oregon actually had to move out of their homes, a few CAP cadets that I know of. So
Oh no.
aren't quite at that stage yet where I live, but
Well, we'll hope for the best.
absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna shift gears again on you.
Okay.
So, to be on a more positive note, do you have any favorite CAP memories that you would like to share?
Favorite memories. I would say probably my favorite memory within being a cadet in CAP is I was able to serve as a cadet cadre at the Washington Wing encampment, which is called Cascade Falcon. And I was able to be flight commander of a flight. And just at the end, where we were doing the pass and review, you had worked with your cadets for the entire week. You'd been working with them, watching them develop, getting their drill down, watching their memory increase with all of the SOP knowledge, and just team bonding, watching them work together. And all at the end, you were marching in the pass and review, and you just see your cadets execute the perfect column as they go down the parade line. And it's just that gratifying feeling that, yes, I helped train these cadets. They are now graduates of encampment. They know what they're doing, and they know the basics of being a cadet in CAP. And it's just a really cool moment to be able to see what you've done have an effect on your people, and to be able to watch them succeed. It was a really, really great time.
That's fantastic. How many people would you say attend encampment each year for Washington Wing?
Washington, I think we had 8 flights of standard students, so I think about 75, and then we also have 2 flights of ATS, Advanced Training Squadron. I know our encampment in 2019 was a bit smaller, and we're trying to upsize as much as we can, since there are quite a few people that weren't able to attend that had applied. But we're shooting for about 100 is what we had before, and we're trying to get it more to 150 to maybe 200 people.
Wow. Well, I hope it can be that big, because having a large encampment is great. It also has its downsides. Like, take for example, if you will, the dining facility. You have to get everyone
Very
through the dining
true.
facility, and it takes like an hour at least to get all of the cadets, all of the senior members in and out, maybe even 2 hours, depending on how many people you have. So if you've got the large DFAC where you've got the huge kitchen, you've got 4 massive freezers, and you have plenty of seating, I hope you guys can do it, because I'm sure you have a nice high quality encampment experience.
Yeah, that's definitely a logistical challenge, and we'll try and see what we're able to do, especially with reopening back up our encampment sizes. It's definitely a big challenge, and we're gonna try and take it on as much as we can.
How closely would you say the Washington Wing encampment follows the CAP pamphlet 60-70?
I haven't actually read all of the pamphlet,
Okay.
but I've looked through it a little bit. Um, I'd say we stay fairly close to what's on there. We have good amount of training, and it's mostly classroom oriented as compared to my basic encampment, which was a lot more drill focused. That was in Tennessee Wing. They actually used to live there, and then I transferred here about 3 years ago. But we do a lot of classroom training. Our PT definitely sticking with everything as a training purpose. I know that's a big focus within that pamphlet there too. Um, I'd say we do a pretty good job of sticking to that. We don't have a lot of very obscure traditions or whatever. Um, yeah, it's definitely a lot of training and development focused with the cadets instead of just absolute intensity, just trying to beat them down.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think encampments across the country are slowly having a culture shift, because when they came out with that pamphlet, I think it was like 4 years ago, I'm gonna say, and people are slowly starting to adopt more and more of it. Like, it has a chain of command set and ready right there for you, and you can be like, these are all the positions I need, and then you just adjust as you need. Um, I also like that it emphasizes that people should have fun in addition to training, because when I went for the first time, it was in 2011, and I was just screamed at a lot. They were like, "Get out of my bed!" And I had no idea what was going on. I was like, "Why are you screaming at me?" Because they didn't set what the expectation was before we were doing things. They were just yelling at us to yell at us. And people can use different intensity tools like raising your voice, but it was to the point where they did it so frequently that it lost its effect after the first day, and almost all of the cadet staff lost their voices after the first day, and they're like bragging
Ooh.
about how they lost their voices, and I was like, you have to talk to us for the rest of the week. You can't just like be a raspy voice for the rest of the week. That must be super uncomfortable for them. And it just shows that like they could have just told us the expectations, so we would have been fine. But that's just my thought. I hope you did not have such an experience when you first went to your encampment. Would you say it was a lot of yelling when you went to encampment, like as a first year
There
student?
there for sure was, but um, it wasn't. I think it was at a healthy degree.
Okay.
There's definitely value of having both, and you want to make sure that you have that training intensity when students arrive, but definitely don't yell just to yell at people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it wasn't like what you described, but there was definitely a lot of loud voices going on and intensity for sure.
Let's talk about color guard. What can you tell me about color guard and your experience with color guard?
So I first got experience to color guard when I was in Airman First Class. I went to a color guard training down in Tennessee Wing. It was a weekend activity. I was paired with 3 other cadets, and we got to do color guard movements. We got to watch some of the cadet competitions, some really good teams, and we got to do a bunch of the movements and stuff like that. And ever since then, I had been interested in being on a color guard team. I've been able to do it on and off. We never really had an official team. I transferred to Washington. One thing that we did for a squadron is our Reads Across America ceremony. We always did color guard for that every year,
Mm-hmm.
and we had like 8 flags or something for all of the military service branches.
Wow.
So it was a really big color guard for that. But it was hard because we never had a dedicated team, and we always felt like we were doing training to that last minute. And so one thing that I'm currently working towards is building a dedicated squadron color guard team, potentially to do cadet competition, but really to just get practicing year round, to be able to get a group of dedicated people to get those movements down, to be able to carry the flags, be professional, possibly go to different sporting events like a hockey game or like a high school sports game, to be able to present the colors for those, just to represent the flag and our country and our squadron, to get our visibility for our squadron out there, so we can have all those people out there be like, hey, look at those people. Those are youth wearing uniforms. They look really sharp. They're presenting the American flag. They look really good. I want to join those people. And just to recruit for our squadron and represent that way. I think color guard is a really good tool for that, something that I'm trying to build. We were going to have a training day, except COVID shut everything down, unfortunately. But hopefully once we get back in person, we'll be able to have a team and start that up. So,
do you at least have the resources to be able to do color guard, like the rifles and the flags and everything?
yes, we do. They're pretty old and a little bit beat up, but our squadron had a team many, many years ago. I think back they had a picture of us winning like some competition like 1982, when they were still wearing like the white helmets with
Oh
Class
no.
A's. Yeah, it was really weird.
Ew.
Um, I haven't heard of us doing anything since then, but hopefully we'll be able to get a good looking team that follows regulations and looks nice.
Well, the helmet used to be. It used to be part of the uniform.
It did,
But not
but it
anymore because
doesn't
it
look
looks
good,
weird.
and not anymore.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of those old white helmets too. It's like you can't really do anything with those.
They are doing something on the national side for historical purposes, so maybe your squadron could submit the helmets for like historical archive use, because there is a national cap historic archive where they're trying to like collect old uniform pieces, and they have like they have like original uniforms for wing commanders. Like I saw um the first, what was it, custom coat for the Texas wing commander, like the very first Texas wing
Ooh.
commander. And that's actually at the American History Museum, Smithsonian, and the national guy, Colonel Frank Blazich, is in charge of that, and so he obtains historical cap pieces and is able to restore them and preserve them with his team there, which is really really cool. So
Wow.
that might be an opportunity for those fancy schmancy helmets rather than just sitting in storage.
Maybe we have a bunch of old CAP different like insignia that you can't wear anymore, and old patches and stuff like that too. So we might be able to submit those. That's a really good idea.
Yeah,
I'll have to
maybe
look into that.
I'll try to find more information on that. But I think they are collecting submissions for that, or they're even buying up and asking for donations if possible. So
Oh, nice.
sounds really cool. I hope your endeavors with recruiting people through Color Guard go well. I know parades are also a really good opportunity. If you're not doing parades, then, well, if your community isn't doing parades, then that's one thing. But if there's like a 4th of July parade, a Memorial Day parade, or anything like that, those are great opportunities in addition to serving at different games and the Race Across America opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I think we had like a Veterans Day parade last year, but that might have gotten canceled or there was something else going on, and so we weren't able to participate. But hopefully, we'll be able to get involved with those again soon.
I hope you do. Do you have any questions for me?
Ooh. What was it like on the instructor side of the RCLS? I gotta see what it was like from being a student. What was it like being an instructor with that?
That's a great question. It was a little bit tricky because sometimes I wasn't quite sure what the expectations were as an instructor, because it wasn't just laid out like, here are all the things that you need to get done. It was just kind of like, we have all of these slots open for instructors. Pick the classes that you would like to be involved with. And I was able to teach 3 different recorded lessons where I talked about feedback, the cadet yeah the cadet staff structure within Civil Air Patrol, and delegation, because I was most recently a cadet out of all of the instructors, and they were like, well, you can relate most to their experience and kind of guide them with that thought process that you have and that perspective. So if you're willing to share that with them and then create assignments associated with it, that would be great. I would say the instructors probably should have coordinated with each other a little bit more, because I know one of my assignments was create an activity that you will be evaluating cadet staff members, or potential cadet staff members, where you pick a trait that you want to see in them, you create an activity and create a scorecard. That takes time if you want to do something good, and like create really well laid out instructions. So I heard from some of my students, like I was also a seminar leader, and we could choose to do both if we wanted to, and I did because I just wanted to interact with cadets and have fun. And some of my seminar members were like, you guys are giving us too many assignments. It's too much. And like we adjusted everything for the second round, because I actually helped with 2 cohorts, like the first one and the second one. And so I had 2 different seminar groups. And the first one was like, we have probably 20 hours of assignments outside of the lectures. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of assignment time. But at the same time, it's like, if you were in person, you would be doing something like 50 hours of work in the week at least, dedicated to those assignments that you'd be doing, and you'd be sitting through those lectures in person and activities. So we tried to balance it out a little bit better for the second one, and I think we'll be continuing doing those online sessions. But I think some students also had difficulty attending all of the live lessons because some of them were working, and if they're working, they can't really take time off, so they didn't really get to enjoy that in-person like session. So that's a summary of my experience as an RCLS instructor. There is a difference between old core and new core mentality with senior members that I have seen. Have you seen something like that?
Yeah, like back in my day when I was a cadet, or I've been in CAP for years versus the newer members, as far as that goes.
It's more of like how training techniques are done, and like keeping people who you know really well in positions of power versus giving everyone a fair shot at the opportunity.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Like I have seen in some instances, where there are senior members who they are friends with other experienced senior members, and they just trade off in the positions because they're like, hey, we're experienced people and we want other experienced people to be in those positions. And I'm like, that's great. But what about all of these motivated people who aren't in those higher up positions, but they're working hard and they're trying to get eventually up to that point? But yeah, there are a lot of senior members that I see who are aspiring to succeed and excel in the program. And just because they don't have those connections with other people, they can't push past that certain boundary. And I think that's pretty common with the job market in general too, unfortunately. So I'm hoping that Civil Air Patrol will be able to help further establish techniques that makes creative and fair approaches towards like selecting people for positions or giving training opportunities. So that's just a few.
Yeah, I feel like they focus a lot about that on the cadet side with training the next generation of people who come up afterwards. And with the senior member side, that might get slacked under a little bit, because if a senior can do a good job and do it well, there's no reason they can't do it for the next 15 years, other than like term limits. So they don't feel like they have to train the next generation of people. And so if we can get the culture shift of, yes, we need to train the younger generation to come up and be these leaders. Even if you can be there forever, that doesn't mean you should. You have to let people fail too. So
yeah, definitely.
That's the hardest part.
It makes me think of, you know how active duty military has temporary duty assignments, and that like officers move every 2 or 3 years between different locations? There's a reason for that. Like they want people who are qualified to transition between different places and get that mentorship, in addition to working with new people and learning the culture and becoming accustomed and being flexible, because it creates a more well-rounded leader. And then that well-rounded leader is moving throughout different locations. And I think if Civil Air Patrol had some kind of process where it was like temporary duty assignments where, let's say I'm an experienced ES officer and another unit doesn't have any emergency services officers, I could volunteer at that unit for 6 months, mentor someone up, and train them until they get to that point where they're ready to lead ES on their own, create that annual training plan and lead activities, and then let them do it, and then transfer back to my original unit if I want to stay with my original unit, just so that that unit now has a strengthened program in emergency services, and I can continue to maintain that strong program at my original unit.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just hard because it's a volunteer organization, and it's hard to get people to do what they aren't necessarily inclined to do, or to leave a group of people that they know very well. Mm-hmm. And they might be more inclined to leave at that point, where if they're not getting the same job that they're familiar with and they're very good at. So it's definitely a balance to maintain there, but definitely I see what you're looking at, and definitely something to work towards if we can find a solution that fits for everyone.
I think the way that we could do it is just having an additional duty assignment that you could say like for another unit, and then have the other unit commander assign you for that, and you could be part of like 2 units almost. That would probably be one of the best solutions for that, because then people don't feel like they're abandoning that previous unit, or at least they're still part of it somehow, and then they can further support that new unit or that other unit that they're helping mentor up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely something to bring up if you can.
Or CAC could do something with it, in that it could be done with cadets and senior members.
That's very true.
Maybe. Well, see,
I might have to get a proposal started within CAC.
With the senior member side, it's a little bit more difficult to send up proposals because there isn't like a senior member advisory council. There's only one for the cadets. So the Cadet Advisory Council can instill a lot of changes within Civil Air Patrol just by passing it up all the ranks and then getting passed between each level. As long as it doesn't get stopped and it makes it to the national level, it can be briefed to the national commander and then the command council to see if it's something worth implementing into Civil Air Patrol. And I could see a lot of benefits with just having that additional ability of people being able to staff in non-command positions, staff more than one thing. Because like a commander for a unit shouldn't be a commander for one and a deputy for another, just to provide more opportunities for others to be in command positions.
Makes sense.
Something to think about. If you're a CAC person out there, feel free to take this suggestion and send it up the chain. Maybe we could have one from every wing do it, just to make sure that we can push it up.
Cool. If national CAC gets a bunch of requests that are all the exact same, then hopefully that'll go through.
And then they might say no.
I mean, that's kind of what they did with beret authorization, but that's a different topic.
Beret authorization is a whole nother beast. Yeah. That's with the Mother Air Force and authorizing beret wearing in ABUs. So that's a whole nother beast, and a battle that we probably would not be able to win. We gotta pick our battles. Would you rather wear a beret or be able to temporarily staff somewhere else?
Very true.
Like the betterment of Civil Air Patrol versus wearing something else on your head. And I know it symbolizes something. I know there is importance to it. But think about the good of the people.
Yep.
So that was all my questions except for one. And that one question is, if you had any words of wisdom that you would like to bestow upon our wonderful viewers, what would those words of wisdom be?
I would probably just say that just look for all of the opportunities that you can within Civil Air Patrol. We offer things in a multitude of different areas in ES, aerospace, cadet programs. So don't just get focused on one specific thing like promotions or anything like that. Try and experiment around, see what all is available to you, and what's offered, and take advantage of as many opportunities as you can. There's scholarships if you're interested in flight or academics, or NCSAs offer a lot of scholarships too. Ask within your squadron or wing. Try and go around as much as possible. Take advantage of what our program has to offer, because not a lot of other programs offer what we do. And there's so many different things that you can get experience to before you actually choose a career field and go to college and do all that stuff if that's what you want to do. And just see what you can do, take advantage of opportunities, learn more as a leader, and go forth from there. Because if you put your mind to it, there's really nothing you can't do.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir, so much. We're going to wave them goodbye. Thank you guys for watching. That is all. Bye-bye.